Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got an exciting tier list for you on, well, some adorably cute, well, they're not all adorably cute, they're small commanders. They are the tiny commanders. They're the ones that cost you nearly nothing to get into play. And here's the thing. Some of these commanders can be, well, very, 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 very relevant to the phrase small but mighty. My goodness, there are some ones that pack a huge punch, so do not discount them. Let's jump into it. And of course, we're starting off with this one, which is already throwing me off because I never get this name right. Here we go. Asmaran Namar Decad de Koldakar. I was so wrong on that. I'm not going to try it again, but let's just say A. I'm just going to call this commander A because this is a commander that is, well, hard to pronounce and hard to envision the correct build around. It is one that is very interesting, but it is one that is, well, maybe not as high potential as some of the other commanders. So this one has literally no mana value. No mana value at all. No mana cost at all because, well, it doesn't have a mana cost. It's a 3/3 human wizard for blank that says as long as you discard a card this turn, you can pay a Rakdos to cast this spell. When that name enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named the Underworld Cookbook, reveal it in your hand, then shuffle, sacrifice 2 foods, target creature deals 6 damage to itself. It is an interesting commander. It is one that, yeah, you can build foods. There's only so many foods that are in these colors, though. You can go get the cookbook. Cool, you do that. Hopefully it stays in play for a while for you to be able to utilize it. It is one that is very interesting. It is not one that I would say is very powerful, though. Of course, there are certain cards like Brash Taunter and whatever you can get out and like, okay, deals damage to itself. It's like, okay, cool. But, yeah, overall, it is one that's, like, kind of more so lacking, and I do reserve the right to change these up, okay? I will say, it's going to be a C tier commander for me. It's like C minus D plus is where it is in my mind right now, but I might move it down to a D tier commander. And I was going to say, well, yeah, the mana value. Yeah, I can help you with that. Well, like, it's like, okay, well, technically it's not really 0. You got to pay at least 1 for it, and also, yeah, it is one where, yeah, there's other ones that are just better. Okay, here we go. Marthis, the Ghostfire Initiate, a 0/0 Spirit Naga for XX. It says, enters the battlefield with X counters on it. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on another colorless creature, you may put a counter on a Marthis. When it dies, manifest a number of cards to the top of your library equal to the number of counters on it. So this is one that says, you know what? Hey, let's get this out. Maybe put a bunch of mana into it. Get some more counters on this. And all of a sudden it dies and you manifest a ton of things. And probably those manifested things, maybe I've got like a Conjurer's Closet in play to help like flip them over. It is one that is solid. It has some solid build paths around it. It is not the most powerful thing out there. Again, like, we're already lacking a lot of colors for a lot of these commanders. Like, A, who I'm not going to try to say the name again, has 2 colors, though. And even though it is a commander that technically costs 0. This is a commander that has 0 colors. Again, color set is the most restrictive color pie piece. I guess it's not even really a color pie piece. It's like a non-color piece out of everything. You have the least amount of cards to utilize. It is one that doesn't necessarily make up for that, the dependency on the power level of its cards. So I will say this one is more so just a middle of the road commander. Moving on. Rohgahh. One that I did not realize the power potential of when it first got spoiled. It's like, oh my gosh, that's cute and adorable and amazing, but my goodness, the power potential of an actual commander that actually just costs 0, like actually costs 0. This one actually costs 0 mana. The other ones we just talked about, technically mana value 0, right-ish, but like one you actually just can't cast regularly, and the other one costs XX, so it's like you need to pay mana into those, so it usually costs like 2 mana technically. This is a 0/1 First Strike Menace Trample Kobold Warrior that costs 0 that has partner. Literally, it could have none of the First Strike Menace Trample on it. That wouldn't matter at all. This would still be incredibly powerful just because of what it can do in certain builds. And the fact that it has partner means that, well, you can go get an incredibly powerful partner. And I'm not judging this based on, you know, like, oh, like this partner versus that partner. We're not getting into that level of detail with this. But you can go get, like, the most powerful partner combination out there. And of course, because it is 0 mana, just inherently, there are certain combos that you can pull off with it, or certain just value things you can pull off with it, like, oh, okay, I cast Jessica's Will, but I get both benefits from it because my commander costs 0 and I can get out super early. So just having a commander that you can literally just get out early, get value out of that, and then, yeah, utilize it in certain combos as well. It's pretty crazy powerful. So yeah, this one is one that, again, like, surprised me at first. Like, this is an S tier commander in my opinion. It is one that, again, it could literally just do absolutely nothing. It could just be 0-1 with partner. That costs 0, and it would still be incredibly powerful just because of its potential for that. Next up, Ashnod Flesh Mechanist, a 1/1 human officer with Death Touch for a single black mana. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, create tap Power Stone token. Pay 5, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a tap 3/3 colorless zombie artifact creature token. A 1/1 Death Toucher is nice, and you can utilize it in a couple of different ways. You can also utilize certain creatures that actually want to be sacrificed to bring them back again and again and again. You can use Power Stone tokens in some pretty powerful ways too. It is decently solid, I would say. I would say this one's probably like C+. It's probably like C+, B- comparatively. Oh, this is where I'm like, okay, maybe I move Esmeralda kind of that name down to D, and I'll move this one to C for now, and like see where I feel with this one toward the end of the episode, and maybe adjust those. But that's kind of how I feel. It is nice. It's low to the ground. That is pretty mana intensive though, to like try to make 3/3s with this, and like, okay, you do need to get certain things out there to be ready. Like, again, you need like the resummoning skeleton type creatures to be able to keep getting more and more value out of that attack. And you also need to make sure that this can actually either get through or your opponents won't block it, essentially, to be able to get that benefit from it too. Moving on. Errant Street Artist, a 0/3 human rogue with Flash, Defender, and Haste for a single blue mana. Pay 1 a blue, tap, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose targets for the copy. This is one where the power level potential for it can be really, really high depending on how you build it. But literally, if you're just building like, okay, I want to take all the extra turns, yeah, you can do that with something like this. You're like, okay, yeah, I've got like Swarm Intelligence or something like that in play where it copies one of my spells, and then I cast an extra turn spell, and it copies it, and then I utilize this to copy that copy, and all of a sudden, I'm taking 3 extra turn spells, and you all lose. Like, there are, like, high-value potential aspects to it. It does require some setup to get there, but there's also certain things like, okay, that wasn't cast. You've got things that you can just not somehow cast by getting value out of it. Yeah, there are certain ways to get value out of this one that are lower to the ground than that. There's also certain combo combinations that you can do, too. Yeah, I mean, being able to just, like, copy a dramatic reversal again can be really, really powerful, too. So, yeah, there are different ways to kind of go for this one. So I will say this one's more like A tier potential with the combo potential. Next up, Frodo, Sauron's Bane, a 1/2 halfling citizen for a single white mana. Pay Orzhov, there we go. If Frodo, Sauron's Bane is a citizen, becomes a halfling scout, 2/3 toughness and lifelink. Pay black. If it's a scout, becomes a halfling rogue with another creature's combination player. Player loses the game, the ring is tempted you 4 more times. Otherwise, the ring tempts you. The goal of this commander is literally just, okay, get the ring to tempt you. Cool. All of a sudden, get this through, and you win. You just take players out with this. It does take some building to do so, like in total, unless you've got some other weird things going on where you turn, Frodo into a changeling or some other way to make into a scout. Being able to essentially, pay 6 mana in total to have a one-shot KO commander, as long as, again, you can get tempted 3 times, 4 more times, I should say, then, you have ways to do it. You can give it double strike to, like, get things going on that as well. Yeah, it is one where it does have potential to take players out quite quickly once you get going. This one's kind of like, I'm going like in between right now with this one. It is kind of like, it's like a B+, A- maybe. We're gonna go with a B+ for now with Frodo, Sauron's Bane. Next up, Grist, Voracious, Larva, a 1/2 insect with Death Touch for a single green mana. Whenever it another creature is battle for new control, if it entered from your graveyard, you cast from your graveyard, you may pay a single green mana. If you do, exile it and return to the battlefield, transform as its control. It transforms into a Planeswalker, Grist the Plague Swarm, a 3-cost Planeswalker, 3 loyalty Planeswalker, there you go. Grist, +1, create a 1/1 green and black insect creature token, then mill 2 cards, put a Death Touch counter on the token of the card was milled this way as black, -2 destroy the Artifact enchantment, or what it really is here for, -6 for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect. This is one where, with some setup, you can do some absolutely disgusting, gross things. Like, that ultimate can definitely be a win condition in and of its own. Like, all of a sudden, like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I've got, again, like, doubling season in play. This flips over, and this just lets me ultimate right away, and I make a ton of tokens. Yeah, that can be quite good. Again, quite good. Again, like, copies of those creatures. Keep in mind, it's not just like, oh, I just get a 1/1. No, it's a copy of those creatures. So if you have, say, like, Grave Merchant from Asphodel, Gary in your graveyard, all of a sudden it comes into play and sees everything and is like, oh, I drain opponents for a ton. Got certain combos you can do with it as well. It does require a setup to get there, though. So I'd say because of that setup that requires, I would say this one is probably more so like a B tier commander, pretty middle of the road. Next up, Haldir Lorien Lieutenant, and my apologies for any mispronunciations. 0/0 Elf Soldier for X and a green. Enters the battlefield with X counters on it. Vigilance, pay 5 and a green until end of turn. Other elf creatures you control gain Vigilance and get +1/+1 for each counter on Haldir. This one is one where it's like literally like just on its own. If this didn't have that last ability, be like, okay, like that's like a very commander. And if it was like anything other than elves, like if it was like a creature type that wasn't as well supported, if it was like, say, I don't know, we're gonna name something here, like Starfish, like that wouldn't be in green, right? But if it was like Starfish, then this would be like, that commander doesn't really do anything, right? Or Dothy or whatever. This one though is more so like, okay, cool, you have elves. Okay, elves are one of the most powerful creature types out there because they're incredibly supported. Yeah, this is, hey, I've got a commander that is just a giant, massive pump effect, essentially, for my elves. Is it the best elf commander out there? No, but it is a commander that is in one of the most powerful, tribal strategies out there. And because of that, and because of what elves do, like being able to generate an absurd amount of mana very quickly, yeah, I'd say this one's more so like an A tier commander, potentially. Again, like literally just because it is part of, at a base level, like an elf deck is probably to say B at a base level because of the support that you have for it. It doesn't take much build around thought to just build a really good elf deck. And then this one's like, yeah, okay, I've got like a decent effect. Like I pump my elves a ton. That is a way to win with the elves. I just get a bunch of elves in play. Probably a bunch of low to the ground Mandork elves. And all of a sudden I give them all vigilance and a ton of power and they're hitting for a ton. So yeah, this is one where, yeah, because of the kind of cards that work well with it, because of the support of its tribe already, it is a very good commander in comparison. Again, this is all within the vacuum, I should say, of comparing these commanders to each other. This is not comparing them outside. This isn't like, this is like an A tier commander compared to the Eldrazi commanders or whatever. No, it's like just compared to these ones in this little box that I'm talking about, these small commanders, 1 mana or less. This is one that, does stand out just because it is an elf commander. Next up, Hope of Ghirapur, a 1/1 Thopter with flying for a single mana. Sacrifice until your next turn. Target player who is dealt combat damage by Hope of Ghirapur this turn can't cast non-creature spells. Typically, you're not doing that. Like, I haven't seen many decks that are like, okay, cool. Now I'm doing a Stacks Hope of Ghirapur deck. I haven't seen too many of those, okay? Or any, actually. This is a commander that typically is built like Voltron. But just like, okay, I've got like a little 1/1 flyer. It's evasive. It's like, get a bunch of things on it. It can hit. It's got some evasion to it. Typically can get through on at least one opponent. And you're like, okay, pump it a ton, have it swing. It's low to the ground. It's evasive. That's kind of what you're usually using it as. This is one that, like, to me, it's like literally C-, D+ kind of territory. Is it above Asmarandakar? I'm not sure entirely, actually. I'm not sure. That's like kind of like around that same level. It's like right around like these two. I mean, like, it's like literally you could build like any, I guess here's the thing. You could build any commander, just Voltron, right? You could be like, okay, I'm just going to like have this commander and then just build all these things that like granted evasion and it does the exact same thing. It is low to the ground, sure, but like, because it literally doesn't do like literally anything else. Like, yeah, you can sacrifice a bit. Like, you really don't do that. You really don't do that. And like, okay, I'm gonna go D tier. It's probably D tier commander. It's like C-, D+. Like, okay. Isamaru, Hound of Konda. This one's pretty easy as well. A 2/2 dog for a single white mana. Sorry, Isamaru. You are a D tier commander. You are a vanilla commander that literally does nothing else except for being a 2/2 for 1. You're also in arguably the weakest mono color, essentially, with mono white. So, yeah. Again, like, maybe you'll take like one player out pretty quickly, but like, after that, you probably like blew everything and you're just gonna lose. So this is a commander that like, it does the build around path is like, okay, Voltron, like you do that, and that's not typically the most powerful strategy out there. Next up, K9 Mark 1, a 1/1 robot dog for a single blue mana. As long as K9 Mark 1 is untapped, other creatures you control have ward 1, and then by paying 1 in a blue, you can tap target legendary creature can be blocked this turn in Doctor's Companion. So here's the thing, okay. Doctor's Companion is not as powerful as Partner. Partner gives you access to a lot more partners and some incredibly powerful and busted partner commanders. Some of the most powerful commanders out there, essentially. This one gives you access to Doctors, which is nice because you can actually utilize that for, again, more colors. You're like, I think the max, right? Most Doctors, I think, are, please let me in the comments below if I'm wrong on this, think most doctors typically are. I might be missing one, though, that's like 3 colors. I think they're typically 2, but yeah, maybe there's one that's 3. But yeah, you're getting access to more colors, so that is more beneficial. I mean, like, the power level of this one is more so dependent upon what doctor you choose, really. Like, it's not really beneficial on this. Like, this is like, okay, cool. Like, I somewhat protect other legendary creatures, and also I can make another legendary creature not be blocked this turn. Like, that's, like, nice, but not, like, the most powerful thing. It's also, again, like, you're limited to that partner pool being just doctors and not like Rohgahh, where it's like, hey, a lot of other ones. So I'm going to say this one is probably a B tier commander, pretty middle of the road. Next up, Kellan, Planar, Trailblazer, a 2/1 human fairy scout for a single red mana. Pay 2 mana in total. If it's a scout, becomes a human fairy detective, gains when it deals combination player. Exile the top card, rely, play the card this turn, basically impulse draw. Pay 3 mana if it's a detective, becomes a fairy rogue, gains double strike. That's 3/2. This one, again, is kind of like Frodo that I talked about earlier, but, like, the payoff isn't like, I win the game. The payoff is like, cool, I hit you for a decent amount of damage, 6 in total, but obviously there's probably other ways to bump it as well. But, of course, like, I impulse draw 2 instead of 1. That's nice. It takes a lot of work to get there, though. Versus Frodo's like, yeah, if you get the ring tempting you, you just win when you hit someone. Or not win, but you take that player out. So I'd say this one, it's fun, it's cool, but, like, this one is probably... yeah, probably in that C tier when it comes to, like, the actual potential for it. Moving on. Kytheon, Hero of Akros. Got a 2/1 human soldier for a single white mana. At the end of combat, if at least 2 other creatures attack this combat, exile the return of the battlefield transformed under its own control. Pay 2 and a white, gains indestructible until end of turn. Flip it over, it flips into Gideon Battleforged. And you have to talk like that when you play it. Just kidding. 3 starting loyalty, +2 up to 1 target creature opponent controls attacks Gideon during its controller's next turn if able, +1 until your next turn. Target creature gains indestructible. Untap that creature. Pay 0 until end of turn. Becomes a 4/4 human soldier creature that's indestructible that's still a planeswalker for all damage to be dealt to him this turn. So this one is pretty easy to flip over. Very easy to flip over, really. It's also, you can, like, give it indestructible and, like, protect it from, like, a wrath or one of your own wraths too if you need to. That being said, the backside, like, isn't the most powerful thing of all time. It is, like, pretty nice, though. Like, yeah, you make a 4/4 that, like, really can't be dealt with in many ways. And, yeah, you can also protect other things. Like, it's not game-ending at all. It is interesting enough, though. And, yeah, there are certain build paths, again, like, if you are building around, like, a Planeswalker commander, again, if you go, like, super heavy into control, like, you can do some pretty gross, disgusting things, like, depending on the playgroup, depending on how many wraths you have in your deck, that kind of thing. So I'd say overall, it's probably, like, more of, like, a middle-of-the-road-ish commander because of all those things. Next up, moving on to Mikaeus the Lunarch. Not Mikaeus the Unhallowed, which would be a different discussion. 0/0 human cleric for X and a white. Enters with X counters on it. Tap, put a counter on it. Tap, remove a counter front, put a counter on each other creature you control. So this one, again, has a couple things going against it. Number one, like, its mana value is kind of, again, like, the like, lowest cost creatures is what this episode's on, right? Kind of like I talked about earlier with Marthas, though, or Manthas. This one is, again, like, an X value commander where you have to, like, put mana into that X, unless you've got, like, an Anthem in play. This is one that's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, this usually just costs 2 or more, essentially, for you. So it's not like a 1 mana creature. You're not getting this out on turn 1, unless you're like, okay, I play it. Oh, it died. Oh, no. Okay, I guess I'll wait a couple turns. Yeah, no, this is one where you need to build up some mana to get this going, or just get it out early and start tapping it to get counters on it. It is kind of slow for the most part, and yeah, you really need to like build the board around it. It's not the worst commander out of all these, but it's like definitely nowhere near the best. And again, no offense, mono white players out there, but still probably the weakest color out of all of them when it comes to mono color commanders. Moving on. So sorry, C tier is what I should say right there. C tier. Next up, Norin the Wary is hilarious. Okay, Norin the Wary is a hilarious commander. Now, is it good? I mean, different discussion. A 2/1 human warrior for a single red mana. Where a player plays a spell or creature attacks, remove Norin the Wary from the game. For the player, it's its control at the end of the turn. This is a commander that, like, literally you're just like, okay, let's do nothing. Let's just not do nothing. Let's have you do absolutely nothing. You go into play and you're like, ah, run away. Oh gosh, something happened. Run away, something happened. Run away, something happened. It is really hard to deal with Norin the Wary. Like, obviously, like, if someone has, like, an ability, like a Tim pinging ability, that can do it. Okay, that can actually do it. That being said, if they don't have those, Norin's like, okay, I leave play when people try to do anything. Like, literally, oh, you tried to, like, destroy the board? All right, I'm gone. Cool. All right. I'm gone. Like, I'm literally just gone. Like, nothing's going to happen. Like, I'm just gone permanently again and again and again. So, yeah, you can build around this with, like, impact tremors, perfroze type effects where it's like, okay, I come into play, I deal damage. I come into play, I deal damage. I come into play, I deal damage. And it's a commander you can get out and you never have to do anything again. You just literally pay your 1 mana, your commander's out. Cool. all those, like, whenever a creature comes into play or leaves play effects can be really cool with it. So there is potential build around for it. It's just, like, very specific. So yeah, this plus damage doublers plus those impact tremor type effects, you can do some pretty cool things with it. It's not the most powerful thing, but it is quite funny when it happens. And yes, I guess technically you could be like, okay, I play mass land destruction, and therefore, yeah, I mean, just everything's gone. Yeah, sure, okay. Then maybe it's a little more powerful than that, but that's not typically an accepted strategy for most casual groups. Moving on! Other Norin. Norin Swift Survivalist. A 2/1 human coward for a single red mana. Can't block. Whenever creature control becomes blocked, you may exile. You may play that card from exile this turn. This is a interesting commander as well. Again, basically your creatures getting blocked. It's like, oh, do I want them to die or deal damage or whatever? I'm just okay with them just going away. Like, being able to have them just go away and replay them obviously gives you benefits from, like, cast triggers as well as ETBs again. So, yeah, you can really take advantage of those things a lot. It does require blocking, though. So, again, like, if you're like, well, I've got this little 1/1 that, like, gets me, like, this good benefit when I cast it, but your opponent's like, well, I'm just not going to block it and I'll take the 1 damage. Like, you need ways to force those blocks or, again, make deals to have those blocks happen. It is a cool commander. It's an interesting build around, but, like, it is, again, like, not the worst, not the best, probably C tier. Maybe I gotta move this one up. Because, like, Isamaru. I'll just keep them there now. Okay, moving on. Oviya Pashiri, Sage Lifecrafter, a 1/2 artificer for a single green mana. I always find it funny when there's commanders like back in the day. I'm pretty sure this was a rare. When they like downgrade them in uncommon, it's like, oh, that's mean. 2 and a green tap, create a 1/1 servo. 4 and a green tap, create an XX colors construct, artifact creature, X number creature control. This is a commander that is, yeah, just really not all that good. Like, it's not very efficient at all. Like, paying 3 mana to make a 1/1, not the best. Like, not the best out there at all, especially when, like, there's other things out there. Ant Queen is not a commander, and again, does cost 5, sure, but, like, to make a 1/1 Ant, you just can keep paying 2 mana again and again and again and again and again and again and again. This is like, okay, I pay 3, and I have to tap it. I made a 1/1. Yay! Or if I pay 5, sure, I can make a decently sized creature, and yeah, that's where you're going to go with it, but yeah, you're not going to, like, flood the board with this commander itself. You need to, like, use other things to flood the board, and then, yeah, you can make some big creatures. Cool. Nice. You also have to tap it, though, so you need, like, untap effects to really take advantage of this the most. It takes a long time to build around. It is not the worst out of every commander in here, though. I will say that. It's, like, it's not the lowest level, but it's probably, like, a C- commander. It's, like, at the low tier of the Cs. Moving on. Ragavan, Nimble, Pilferer, a 2/1 monkey pirate for a single red mana. Deals combination player, create treasure token, exile top card of that player's library. Until end turn, you may cast that card. Dash it for 2 mana. This is one that's probably, like, better in, like, the one-on-one formats where it's like, oh yeah, it's really quick, like, very quick. You get it out, cool, you're doing really cool things. Like, you're getting it out, you're hitting opponents, you might get some of their best cards off the top library, you get treasures to help you to speed ahead of your opponent, and yeah, you can get some early quick damage in. In a in a game where you have 3 opponents, if I could talk, there we go. 3 opponents, 4 players in the game. Yeah, sure, you can get off to a good start with this, but, like, your opponents are going to catch up, and yeah, you're going to have a little bit of a benefit, but, like, your commander's not, it's not like a giant build around where it's like, okay, cool, whenever I do these things, I get this benefit. Whenever I do these things, I get this benefit. It's like, okay, if I hit you with this commander that doesn't have any evasion, later in the game, like, I need ways to get an evasion, and also I get, like, a slight benefit. Like, I get a treasure, and I get Impulse Draw 1, which maybe I can use that card, maybe I can't. It's until the end of the turn. Like, just that turn. If I can't use it, I can't use it. So, if you hit the right things, you get a lot of value out of it, but if you don't, you don't. So, like, it definitely can be one that's, like, kind of like a coin flip on whether it works or not, just depending on who you're playing against and how lucky you get with off the top of the deck. So, I'd say this one's probably more of, like, a B tier commander, like, middle of the road. Moving on, Rhys the Redeemed. Here we go again. All right, a 1/1 Elf Warrior for a Selesnya mana. 2 in a Selesnya tap, put a 1/1 green and white Elf Warrior creature token into play. And then 4, I said 2 in a white, I think 2 in Selesnya. 4 in Selesnya, there we go. Tap for each creature token you control, put a token into play, let's copy that creature. This is one that's, like, probably the closest up there to Rohgahh. Like, it is close, because, again, Elf is incredibly supported tribe. And also, like, it does give you extra 2 colors. It's very low to the ground, and doubling up your tokens is gross. Absolutely gross. It is above our other elf commander, I would say, but it's, like, again, like, A+, S-, and I'm not going to put on the same level as Rohgahh, because Rohgahh is just, again, like, gross combos, and also, like, partners with commanders that are probably technically better than Rhys as well, right? Like, it literally, the partner combination of, like, that plus, like, Thrasios is like, oh, yeah, Voracious is just, like, straight up better. So, yes, Rhys the Redeemed, a very good elf commander. Again, better than the other elf commander we talked about so far, in my opinion, but still one that's like, okay, not quite there because Rohgahh is just kind of A tier above. just kind of how it is in my opinion. Okay, moving on. Oh gosh, this is a name. Rosnakht. There we go. Heir of Rohgahh. A 0/1 Kobold Warrior battle cry for a single red mana. Heroic whenever you cast a spell at targets. Ros, Heir of Rohgahh. Create a 0/1 red kobold creature token named Kobolds of Ghirapur. This one is not nearly as good as Rohgahh, obviously. This one's like, okay, cool. Like, I cast things that target it, I go wide, and I attack, and I pump. But I've got no evasion at all. I'm going into danger. And, yeah, I have to utilize a lot of spells to target this to just get a okay effect. Like, an okay effect. So, overall, this one is, in my opinion, probably, sorry, like, we're, like, Rohgahh is, like, way up there. This one, also an Heir of Rohgahh. This one is, yeah, just a C tier commander, in my opinion. Like, you gotta invest a lot of resources to try to go wide with this, like, and it's maybe not all that worth it, comparatively. Next up, Skrelv, Defector might, not effective, maybe defective. 1/1 Phyrexian Might, that is an artifact creature for a single white mana, toxic 1, can't block, pay a Phyrexian mana, essentially tap, choose a color, no target creature control gains toxic 1 and hexproof from that color until end of turn, can't be blocked creatures of that color this turn. This one is an aggressive, low-to-the-ground commander where you're like, okay, I'm just going to infect people out. Usually with this, you could probably take out a player quite quickly again, like with the right strategy around it. There's only so many toxic, infect cards, proliferate cards in mono white. There's a decent amount, but not like an overwhelming amount, obviously. You'd want more colors. But yeah, this just get out early, hit, and then probably give it double strike and get more and then proliferate. You can take a player out decently quickly with this, but when it comes to trying to take other players out, like, you gotta kind of build up into that. So this is one where I would say is probably like more middle of the road. It is solid. It is not quite up there with other ones though. It is a very solid commander and in fact can be quite good. I mean, I say infect, but like poison in general can be quite good. Next up, Tamiyo Inquisitive Student, a 0/3 Moonfolk Wizard with flying for a single blue mana. When it attacks, investigates. So make a clue. Whenever you draw your third card in a turn, exile, then return or transformed on the battle under your control. Flips over into Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar, 2 starting loyalty, +2 until your next turn whenever a creature attacks you or planeswalker you control, -1/-0 until end of turn. -3, return target instant card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a green card, add 1 mana of any color. -7, draw cards equal number of half the cards in your library, round it up. You get an emblem if you have no maximum hand size. I mean, the goal of this commander is literally flip and then ultimate, and then there you go. You've got half your library, and you probably win from there. You should be able to win if you have half your library and no maximum hand size, like permanently. You should just be able to do that. That being said, obviously, like, the usual strategy for that would be, okay, I flip it, I have doubling season, and I get the amount of loyalty counters on it that I need to immediately ultimate. It doesn't work with this one. This one would go from 2 to 4, you need to get to 7. Yeah, you're going to proliferate effects in there too, you're going to have ways to protect it, kind of protect itself in a way. It is, like, a bit more... I mean, it's very easy to flip, right? The third card in turn is very easy to flip. There are benefits to utilizing it again. Like, okay, like +2, I can get there decently quickly-ish if I've got this with some proliferate plus doubling season. Does take some time. I'd say, like, this one to me is, like, in between... this one to me is, like, in between, like, the... It's, like, between, like, C and B. Like, it is in between C and B to me. I mean, it's a Planeswalker, so again, like, you can do some, like, nice things with that. Where, not nice, but, like, a lot of control aspects work really well with it. Like, if you're over-controlling the board. I'm going to go with a B. I'll go with a B. It's like a low B. It's like a B-, C+, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, moving on. Tiny Bones, the Pickpocket. I think this is the least popular of the Tiny Bones. I could be wrong on that. I mean, the new one just came out, but, like, it's surging in popularity. 1/1 Skeleton Rogue with Death Touch for a single black mana. Tiny Bones Pickpocket deals combination player. You may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard. Mana of any type can be set to cast that spell. I mean, it is a commander that, like, is nice. Does give you some card advantage in a way. It is only permanent spells as well. Or, sorry, non-land permanents, I should say. So, permanent spells. But, and yeah, it doesn't have any evasion. It's got, like, don't block me because I'm death touchy. But, like, it doesn't technically have any evasion itself. And, yeah, you need to get things in your opponent's graveyard. So, yeah, you need to, like, mill them, get the right things in their graveyards, and then, like, utilize them by getting a good amount of mana. It's not the worst commander. It's not the best. It's probably, again, like... It's probably, like, again, like a Tamiyo-ish level, like B-, C+, but I'm going to lean more so on this side of, like, the C+ side of that versus the B-. So we're going to go with a C tier commander. Moving on. Valentine, Dean of the Vein. Dean! Anyone in community? No? Okay. 1/1 Vampire Warlock with Menace and Lifelink for a single black mana. Pay non-token creature opponent controls would die, exile instead. When you do, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Yeah. flip over in the backside is Lizette, Dean of the Root. Technically, this is kind of like cheating, like when I'm like lowly ground creatures or commanders, like for like the entire episode. It's like this one's technically 4 on the back, but it's part of the one that's the low side on the front. 4/4 human druid, 4/4 mana in green. Whenever you gain life, you can pay 1. If you do, put a counter on each creature you control, and those creatures gain control until turn. I mean, like either side, if I'm just evaluating like the front side technically for like building around this one, yeah, it's pretty weak. It's pretty weak. Like 1/1 menace lifelink, that's like, okay, I basically mostly like a hate bear against like your death triggers for the most part. Like 2 mana is a good amount you have to pay to like make tokens when other creatures die. Like it's a good amount to have to pay. I mean, like this is probably like, maybe I'm being unfair here. Maybe I'm being unfair, but like this is probably like a D+, like not quite. Like it's probably more powerful than like, say, like, no offense, Isamaru, but like straight up like 2/2 just for 1, like that does nothing else. Like this like does something, but like that something is like, okay, like if you're playing against like a graveyard centric deck, or you're playing against like a death trigger deck, like yeah, you shut that down for a little bit if this is in play, but like, yeah. Well, I guess only gets non-token creatures too, but also like, yeah, the amount of money you put into this to actually like get any benefits out of it is a lot. Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful, a 1/1 dog for a single white mana. Whenever the legendary permanent enters battle under control, put a counter on Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful. This is one where it's like, I wish I kind of had like another tier, although like, you know, there are already plenty of tiers. But like this is like, again, just because it literally has partner, it's probably S tier. Like it's like S-. Rog is S+, because Rog is like 0 mana, therefore like can combo with a lot of things. Yoshimaru, yeah, sure, okay. And I've seen powerful Yoshimaru, like literally like, okay, like I'm playing all these legendary permanents, which includes lands too, which is amazing. We have like, okay, I play all these things, I get so many counters on it, I give it double strike, I'm hitting super quick, and commander damage out someone very, very quickly. But yeah, the thing that makes it really powerful is literally just like, okay, you've got partner, you can partner with some of the most powerful commanders out there, and you get access to 2 more colors. So yeah, that's powerful. So because of that partner combination, putting that at S tier, right under Rog though, I mean, it's like, again, it's still technically the same tier, but like if I had to tier these two, Rog is number 1, Yoshimaru at number 2. Maybe it's A+ if you want to argue that comparatively, but like, yeah, I think that just because it's got partner, it's pretty disgusting. Okay, Zabaz the Glimmer Wasp, a 0/0 insect for a single mana modular 1. Pay modular triggered ability, you may put 1 or more counters on a creature you control that many +1 opponent instead. Pay a single red mana for target artifact you control. Pay a single white mana, gains flying until end turn. This is kind of like, I mean, this is kind of like Hope of Ghirapur, like in a way. Like, it's a Voltron commander that is like somewhat evasive. It is one that's like, okay, like, yeah, there's certain benefits like destroying your own artifacts. There's certain artifacts that want to be destroyed. Not too many of those out there. There's also like, okay, there's not that many modular creatures that are really all that good either. So like the probably best builder on this is literally just Voltron. Just focus on Voltron. Just Voltron, and then yeah, pay a white mana to give it flying. I mean, this is just like literally the exact same thing in a way, so I'm probably just going to be putting this one in the D tier. It does give you access to 2 colors though, obviously, so that is much more impactful, I guess I would say that. So you could argue for this one to make it up to the C tier because it's got 2 more colors, but still I'd probably just put it in the D tier. Just probably put in the D tier for that. Okay, finally, Zurgo Bellstriker, a 2/2 Orc Warrior for a single red mana. Can't block creatures power 2 or greater, dash for 2 mana. Again, literally just the exact same thing as Isamaru, essentially. But this is a D tier commander. I'll put you right next to there. I'm going to reorganize these. Here you go. Look, you go next to you. You go next to you. Everyone's happy. There you go. All right. So this is basically the exact same thing. You're probably not blocking this Isamaru anyways at all, so that's not different at all. And like the fact that it can dash, sure, that might matter a little bit. You know, like, okay, I play it. Pings with impact tremors. Sure, you can do things like that. But yeah, overall, exact same thing essentially. So, and then for all the reasons I already mentioned, this is a D tier commander in my opinion. Overall, I feel pretty good, I think, about this list. Like, it is interesting. Again, like, it is interesting when you look at the vacuum of a certain, you know, a certain combination of commanders and just like, okay, which ones are more powerful for which reasons? Again, like some of the elf commanders are like, not Rhys, not just because, but you know, the other elf commanders like, yeah, like elves are incredibly supported and it's got a decent ability, so therefore it's up there. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like, Rog, yeah, I didn't realize how powerful that was. My goodness. All the way down to, like, Isamaru, which is like, I'm a 2/2 and I do nothing. And Rog's like, I also kind of do nothing, but I cost nothing, which is super, super beneficial. See, I think I feel pretty well overall with this list. But, yeah, you might differ, and that's okay. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Give me your thoughts on, yeah, where I was right, where I was wrong, what your rankings of these would be, and what other rankings I should be doing in the future. And with that, this episode is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts are on this episode. And, of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.